Today we're going to show you how to run copper test with the colorimeter that comes with the Trusted Water Snapshot Water Inspection Kit. If you take your kit out, you're going to need some things to run this test. You'll need obviously the colorimeter, the copper colorimeter. It's orange. You'll need a sample collection bottle. You'll need a cuvette and the cuvette holder. You'll need the reagents. You'll need to take out one packet of reagents. You'll need your scissors. You'll need the microcloth to clean the cuvette, and you'll need one transfer pipette. The next thing I want to do is show you how to collect the correct sample. Whenever you're measuring a heavy metal like copper or lead or chromium, you always want to measure water from what's called a first draw sample. That's the very first water that comes out of the faucet or the water outlet that you're testing. We want to capture the water that's been sitting stagnant in the pipes because that's going to have the highest concentration of those metals, lead, copper, and chromium. So the first thing you do when you come in to do a home inspection, you collect the very first water or draw of sample that comes from the faucet. And once you've filled the bottle up, you can put the cap on and we'll measure copper. Okay, now that we've collected a sample from our sink, we're going to go ahead and show you how to measure copper. The first thing we'll want to do is to turn on the colorimeter. That's very simple. Just simply push the button once. You'll see some lines flash across the digital readout until it displays C1. When it displays C1, that's basically saying you're ready to put cuvette 1 into the colorimeter. Open the lid, and we're going to add some sample water to this cuvette and insert it into the colorimeter. I like to use these holders, the cuvette holders, so that the vials don't tip over. The first thing we'll do is to transfer some of the water using this transfer pipette into the cuvette to rinse the vial. We'll fill it up to the 10 milliliter line, and then we'll dump that into our sink to flush it out and to rinse the cuvette. Next, we'll take some more sample from our collection bottle and we will fill the cuvette all the way to the 10 milliliter line. It's a white line shown on the cuvette. Once we've done that, put the cap back on. We're going to use our microcloth to remove any fingerprints because fingerprints will cause an inaccurate reading. We'll put the cuvette in to the colorimeter, we'll close the lid, and we'll push the button once again. And now what's happening is we're getting a reading from the blank. This is a blank water sample that hasn't been reacted with any reagent to cause any color change. And when that's complete, you should see C2 on the front of the screen. When you see C2, you can take out the colorimeter, put it into your holder, and now we're going to add one packet of copper reagent. Typically, like a sugar packet, you want to tap it a few times to get the powder down to the bottom. Take your scissors and follow the trace of the cutting pattern. And then you're going to want to make a small little funnel. This can be tricky, but the idea is you want to create a funnel that makes it easy to pour in the powder into the cuvette. So once you've opened the packet, pour the powder in. Do your best to get all of the powder. It's not always that easy. You miss a little bit, that's okay. Once the powder has been poured in, we put the cap back on and we gently shake it. We don't want to shake it too hard because we'll get too many air bubbles in the sample and we'll get a bad reading. If you have some powder on the bottom that doesn't dissolve, that's okay. We continue to shake it a little bit, and you can tap gently the cuvette on the bottom, which helps dissolve the powder. Now, we don't have to have all the powder dissolved to get an accurate measurement. And before we put this back into the colorimeter, we want to take our microcloth and we want to wipe it again and remove any fingerprints. We're going to put it back into the colorimeter, and we're going to hold the button until we see 45 seconds shown on the display. We release that, and it should start counting down, and after 45 seconds we should see the amount of copper that's in our water sample. So while you were waiting for the sample, you can do some cleanup. You can throw away the extra packet. You can wipe away any powder that you may have spilled. And while you're waiting, you can set up for another test with a different parameter, whether a chlorine test or a total dissolved solids test. Anything else that you want to check, you can get ready while this is running. But after 45 seconds, we should see a value displayed. If we look at our colorimeter, we see the numbers 0.51. That's 0.51 parts per million of copper in the water sample that we collected from this faucet. What you do next is you write down that number, or in some cases you can take a photo with your cell phone and record that reading. The last thing we do is we'll want to clean this cuvette out. We don't want to leave that material or the colored liquid in the cuvette because it may stain it. So we simply empty the vial into the sink, and you can just use water from the sink to rinse it a couple of times. And take one of your Kim wipes that came with your kit, and you can dry it off, and you can insert it inside if you choose and dry it out. Put the cap back on and you're done.